Politicians frequently use the $34 trillion national debt to spark panic, yet very few explain the actual mechanics driving it. Any government has only four ways to pay for its activities. It can collect taxes, borrow capital, create new money, or sell off assets. This arithmetic governs all public finance. National debt increases whenever a government's total spending is greater than its income. Emerging countries usually run deficits to build baseline survival infrastructure, like paved roads and power grids. But the United States is already a highly developed, wealthy economy. Instead, the U.S. borrows heavily because it has made enormous commitments that far exceed its cash on hand. This debt is a structural symptom of a rich society making massive, long-term promises it hasn't fully funded. To understand these commitments, we have to look at the spending side of the equation. The U.S. maintains military bases, naval fleets, and intelligence systems all over the world. Maintaining global geopolitical influence requires absolute military capacity. That level of readiness demands continuous funding, meaning enormous defense budgets are approved year after year. These costs continue regardless of whether there is an active conflict. Developing advanced weapons programs and running global operations consumes huge amounts of capital every single day. The cost of acting as a global superpower hardwires a massive, permanent block onto the spending side of the equation, essentially guaranteeing baseline deficits even in peacetime. And then there are the domestic promises. The government has committed to providing retirement income and healthcare support for seniors and low-income citizens. We are looking at a ruthless demographic reality. More retirees are living longer, supported by a shrinking pool of working-age people, all while medical treatments become increasingly advanced and expensive. Millions of citizens depend on these programs to survive. That makes them politically untouchable. Because politicians refuse to cut these lifeline programs and face extreme resistance to raising taxes to fully cover them, they are forced to borrow the difference. That brings us to the income side of the ledger. Current tax policies routinely collect significantly less revenue than the total amount the government spends. When a government reduces taxes to stimulate economic growth, but keeps its spending exactly the same, that missing revenue simply turns into more borrowing. We are left with a stark mismatch. Americans expect global security and high public services, but fiercely resist paying taxes required to actually afford them. If the math is this unbalanced, why hasn't the system collapsed? The answer lies in the US dollar's unique position as the main global reserve currency. International banks, companies, and foreign governments constantly need dollars to conduct global trade. This creates massive, permanent demand for US Treasury bonds as a safe place to store cash, making it exceptionally easy for the American government to borrow. This unique advantage allows the United States to refinance its obligations and delay the math problem for far longer than any other nation. But this ability to delay is not infinite. The mathematical breaking point arrives when a government's interest payments begin to grow faster than its tax revenue and the wider economy. This diagram illustrates an interest payment spiral. A higher total debt leads to higher interest payments. That leaves less money for actual public services, which forces the government to borrow even more money just to stay afloat. The true consequence here is rarely a sudden economic collapse. Instead, it is a slow, quiet crowding out of investments in infrastructure, scientific research, and public education. The inescapable equation eventually forces a brutal reckoning. America must raise taxes, cut benefits, or slowly suffocate its capacity to invest in the future.